I want to thank you guys for tuning in to the Bootz Sports Show. I'm your host, Uncle Bootz, and yes, we can all, Cowboy fans, Cowboy Nation, we can start our week off on the right foot as the Dallas Cowboys defeat the defending NFC East champion Washington Redskins, if I can still call them that legally, by a score of 31-16. The Cowboys improved their record to 3-3 and are right now sitting atop the NFC East, currently tied with the Philadelphia Eagles, who we will see next week, and the Washington Redskins fall to 1-4. And before we talk about this victory, first I want to give a shout out to the good folks over at Your Daily Cowboys Football.fix.com and the Silver and Blue Report as well. Two respected websites that are host to Cowboy fans and articles that you can read at your leisure, as well as watch this video on either sites as well. I gotta admit, when I turn this, when I'm getting ready, preparing for this game, and as I'm getting ready to watch this game, it looked like I was watching the premiere season or the of The Walking Dead, as I watched DeMarco Murray and DeMarcus Ware limp off the field, and it really was a scary thing to think about when we were in the early stages of this game, trying to chase down Robert Griffin III and trying to contain Alfred Morris in order to secure the victory. But the Cowboys did a really good job playing a complete game, pretty much all around. And this game was more about guys that stepped in, which you rarely see in Dallas. You haven't seen in a while. Guys step in and assume the role and play well. When DeMarcus Ware went down, my first thought was, who is going to come in and make plays? Well, you saw your third-round pick out of Wake Forest, Kyle Wilber, come in. 2 years ago, he was a rookie, and he's now getting his feet wet, getting thrown to the fire against a pretty good left tackle for the Washington Redskins in Trent Williams, and did an admirable job coming in there and stealing the game away, literally stripping Robert Griffin III, taking the ball from him, getting the strip, sack, fumble, the trifecta, if you will, which secured the game for the Cowboys. Cowboys were depleted up front, and you saw nothing but effort out of those guys. Now you're talking about a team that's missing Anthony Spencer, a team that's missing Jay Ratliff, on that front line, and and then DeMarcus Ware and even Jason Hatcher was being subbed out. It looked like he had something going on with his elbow. I don't know if it was like a little stinger or whatever. But you saw a bunch of guys coming in. Caesar Rayford. You saw, Nick Hayden. You seen these guys coming in and playing very well, pushing the pocket. Nevins, the LSU defensive tackle on that front line, came in and was stout, and that probably won the game for the Cowboys. The things that I noticed, this was an efficient game for our quarterback, Tony Romo, who pretty much shot his load, last week against the Denver Broncos, throwing for over 500 yards. This is a game where you kind of could expect that, things balance themselves out in the NFL. You kind of expect that the Cowboys, that Romo would have a pedestrian-like numbers. And he did enough. There was an interception that was bad at the line of scrimmage. But really, Tony didn't look awful. I mean, he wasn't great. He did, however, throw a fantastic pass. When people talk about and they're critical of Tony Romo, you go back and watch that pass, that 15-yard pass that he threw to Terrence Williams on the run. Which I thought, and I would bet that anybody who watches film or watches the NFL, I'll bet that you thought that he was throwing that ball away, because I thought he was just trying to get rid of it. And he threw a perfect strike on the run. When you watch the coach's cam versus the television shot, you can see that was the throw that Tony was trying to make. When you watch the television shot, it just looked like he was getting rid of the ball, because you couldn't see, the topography of the play, if you will. So that play was phenomenal. I mean, these are the types of plays that people who don't think that Tony Romo is a good quarterback, it really, 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 there's not too many quarterbacks that can make that throw. So, seeing the defense show up in the manner that it did, it was refreshing, because I was prepared for a shootout. I thought we were going to see a game very similar to what we saw with the Denver Broncos. I thought we were going to see two teams going up and down the field, nobody being able to cover anybody, and a lot of empty sets. And I'm really liking the way the Cowboys are utilizing that empty set. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a few, but it was a hard fought, tough game. It really was, and the defense. Sean Lee was especially for probably the first three and a half quarters, was the best player on the field, if you ask me. I thought he was outstanding. I mean, the plays that he made. I mean, the tackles that he made, sifting through the trash, getting through those big linemen and knifing through and tackling a big strong back at Alfred Morris. I mean, those plays, you cannot find but a handful of linebackers that can consistently do that in the National Football League. I mean, that guy he really, really played well. There were a couple times where he missed a tackle and didn't get off blocks, and later on in the game, but I thought he was fantastic. I thought Brandon Carr played well. I thought he had a very good game. I didn't think he was all world. I actually thought that Claiborne played a better game than Carr did. I know Carr was playing against Pierre Garçon, and he was playing against a really good talent in Garçon, who beat us last year, beat us up pretty good in that Thanksgiving game. But I'll tell you this. Claiborne really, really looked the part. And I hope that's what we're about to see going forward, because he's going to have his hands full next week playing against the Philadelphia Eagles and Riley Cooper, who pretty much had his way with him when they played last year. So he's going to have his hands full, but he looks like he's starting to come around and play. The defense looked, for the most part, and when I say the most part, I mean, I thought Barry Church played about as bad as a game at safety as you could play. I thought it was the worst game he played that I'd seen him play, and some of the worst safety play that I've seen in a long time. When you talk about missing tackles, being late on assignments, I just thought he was out of place, and I don't know if it's because he's trying to overcompensate for the rookie, if he has to feel like he's got to play for J.J. Wilcox, who's playing beside him, who missed a couple tackles as well. I didn't think played great, but I thought Barry Church was awful. Now, he broke his nose in 2 places last week. I don't know if hitting it, if the helmet's coming down over the nose and that's bothering him. There could be a lot of things going on with that. I'm not sure, but whatever it is, on film, he just didn't play well. But the Cowboys were able to compensate for that by getting pressure on RG3 with their front four. They didn't have to blitz as much. When they did blitz, it really didn't get there that well, but it did hurry RG3. And this is a good prep game for them, because I think that they're going to see. Now, there's a possibility they could be playing against Nick Foles next week as we prepare to play for the Eagles. I feel like that this game is a good game if you see Vic, because they did a really good job. I know RG3 ran for I think he ran for 80 yards or so on the ground, 77 yards, something like that. But they did a really good job containing him and forcing him to throw the ball when he didn't want to. Now, when you cover guys, when you cover on the back end, like the Cowboys haven't been doing of late, when you can cover like that, that's the result. That's the result. The quarterback has to hold on to the ball too long, and the pocket starts to break down. And that's just common football sense in the National Football League. If you can cover on the back end, which, like I said, we haven't done that, the quarterback's forced to sit there and go through his progressions, and you just hope that somebody like Caesar Rayford, and I know these names aren't family known names in your household, but you hope that guys, Drake Nevis. You hope some of these guys can make these plays and collapse these pockets down and get these mobile quarterbacks under control, because we did not have success against this type of quarterback last year. So we looked terrible doing that. And parts of this year, even in the preseason, we struggled with it as well, including the Kansas City game where Alex Smith pretty much ran all over us. So this is a good, hopefully it's a precursor to what we may see next week. Seeing the Philadelphia Eagles, watching the way they're playing, their defense is, let's just say this, the Cowboys are going to have a lot of opportunities playing against the Philadelphia Eagles. They're going to have a lot of opportunities for big plays. Now, when you play in the division, this is what I try to tell some of these folks who think that, a 38-point spread or a 28-point spread over the Jacksonville Jaguars, because Peyton Manning can just carve them because they're the worst team in the league. When you play in the division, it is different. It will always be different. It doesn't matter how good you are. It doesn't matter your records for the most part, because these teams know you. They know your tendencies. They have every bit of film on you that is out there, because every single play has been counted. Every team knows the division. Every team. That's why it doesn't matter what the Redskins record is when we play the Cowboys, the Giants, etc., the Eagles, because we know each other so well. Now, some positive things that I saw in this game, and there's some question marks too, but some positive things I saw in this game was, I think Cole Beasley, and I think he might, and this is going to sound a little over the top, but he might have saved Jason Garrett's job this year, because and the offense was struggling, and they needed what he gives you, and what Cole Beasley gives you is he gives you a fail-safe for when Witten, and he's like a combination. I know he's a smaller guy, but he's like a combination of Miles Austin and Jason Witten. And when Miles Austin is he's not 100%. I didn't see the explosion out of him. I know he got open on that one play that D'Angelo Hall made a fantastic play on to bat that ball away. But D'Angelo Hall played a great game yesterday too, by the way, not for nothing. But when you have a guy that can emulate the things that Miles Austin does and Witten, you got yourself a guy that is dependable, because he's mostly going to be single covered. Most games he's going to be single covered. He's got the option in most routes that he runs, in most places where he lines up, especially if he lines up in the slot. I saw him outside a couple times, but he's got the option route to go either way. So, and he's a quick twitch dude. I mean, I don't know if you guys remember this, and I'm sure most of the fans do, but for the ones who may not even be Cowboy fans that are watching the show, or may not even know the story, Cole Beasley was a guy who quit the team, and said he didn't want to play last year. The Cowboys had to go to his home and beg him to come back out on the field. And for whatever reasons, I don't know if he had personal issues or whatever was going on, he just didn't want to play football. And then the Cowboys coerced him to come back, and he came back and made the team, which is a lot for an undrafted rookie, free agent. But he made the team, and now this kid looks like, he's going to be a chain mover, because he's a better player, a better possession player than Dwayne Harris, who had filled that role, previously for the Cowboys. This kid is a slippery kid, and I really think that he's going to help Tony. But more importantly, I think he helped Jason Garrett, because this kid's going to be the reason that the offense didn't sputter or doesn't sputter in the future. And not a lot of guys can cover this guy. I mean, when you're spreading them and you're emptying and you're set, you take the back off the field, and you put in another wide receiver. Well, that could be a linebacker, or a corner, or a safety covering Cole Beasley, and that is a terrible matchup if you ask me. If you get a corner, it's probably a third or fourth corner. You put that guy on Cole Beasley. I mean, this kid, he can get open, and people were trying to get him off the team this year, off the field. He got hurt early in the season. But what a fantastic way to come in and make contributions 2 weeks in a row that he's come in and really been a tough defense. So those are the types of things I think the Cowboys staff is actually growing and learning. I really believe that they're finding out more things about this offense and defense, but mostly the offense, that they didn't know they have. You never saw these empty sets that the Cowboys are running. You never saw them previously. A lot of us called and screamed, why can't we empty the set? And I believe the Cowboys do things like most coaching staffs. They weigh the player. Well, is Cole Beasley better than DeMarco Murray? That's generally, we're going to take off DeMarco Murray and we'll bring in a Gavin Escobar. But is the balance, is it in the favor of the team? And most times DeMarco Murray would win that battle when you're talking about bringing in Dwayne Harris. Well, should we bring in Dwayne Harris and take out DeMarco Murray? Probably not. I mean, DeMarco Murray's probably a better player, even as a pass protector. But I think when you bring in Cole Beasley, I think he's a better option when you go empty. No question. I mean, because you can't throw that ball outside when he's lined up out, split wide. And you can't throw that ball and trust that a running back is going to make that catch out there. You just can't. But you can trust Cole Beasley. So, and I know it's a lot of talk about Cole Beasley. He didn't have a touchdown in this game, but he single-handedly made those plays that kept drives going for this team. I mean, this team hasn't had many games over the last couple years where we've led throughout. We've got 2 games where we've led the games from the beginning to the end. Actually 3, I believe. I think the Giant game as well. The Giants, the Rams, and don't kill me if the Giant game is wrong, but I think we led the Giant game the whole way through. The Rams game and this game. And I'll bet you, if I had to go off the top of my head, I'll bet you we haven't had that many games like that. I bet you we have to go back two years before this year. 2 combined years to find 3 games that we've led from beginning to end. And that's not just an indictment on the Cowboys. I think that's on the entire National Football League. I think most teams' lead changes are, very popular right now. I think they're trending, if you will, so that's a big issue. So the Cowboys played this complete game against a team that has some weapons out there. You're going to tell me that we beat the Rams weren't worth anything. Well, we beat the Giants weren't worth anything. So now we beat a Redskins team. Well, they're 1-4. But you know what? You line up and go play them. You come up with the game plan to contain RG3. You stay up late nights like these coaches are doing, trying to figure out how to, cover Garcon. The tight end they had, Jordan Reed. I heard a couple guys on Twitter saying this guy's Witten 2.0. I wouldn't go there. I mean, let's calm down with it. Witten's going to be a first, a shoo-in Hall of Famer. But the kid Jordan Reed, these guys are explosive players that cause problems on defenses. So Cowboys look really good. They're going to have a test. They're going to be tested. And what they've done is they've segregated themselves from the muck or the sludge of the NFC East in winning this game. They separate themselves from the Giants, and 1-4 for the Redskins. 3-3 is huge. Even, and this is going to sound crazy, but even if the Cowboys don't win and beat the Eagles on the road. And by the way, let me throw this out there. My buddy, who is a diehard Eagles fan, and I'm trying my hardest to get him some airtime on here, and we're putting that together. Hopefully we can do that this week. At Sideline Chatter, he has given me this nugget that is unheard of. I'm surprised it doesn't get much acclaim. The Eagles have not won a home game in a calendar year. I mean, that is to me is, I mean, if you think about the wins the Eagles have, I mean, they're 3-3 this year. Last year I know they only won 4 games. None of these games happened at home. The Eagles so we're playing them in their home place where they now. I believe the Cowboys always give people their firsts. We're like, we always, whenever you hear from a commentator This guy has never made back-to-back 50-yard field goals, and the Cowboys are involved. The Cowboys will make sure that that happens. Whatever it is that they've never done, they do it in Dallas. It always happens. It always seems like that. So I'm worried about that game as far as the win-loss column, but this division, the way that it's rolling, even if the Cowboys lose that game, they got plenty of time, because you're really only playing against one team. And God forbid you win this game, because you're playing against a guy, probably either Nick Foles or Vic. But if you can find a way to beat this team, and they're loaded. We talking about the Eagles, they got a lot of talent offensively, for the most part. Defensively, they are a sieve. If you can block them, and the Cowboys have done a really good job fortifying the offensive line. If they can get out there and block these guys and just stay in front of them, there is no, for all the crying that Dez is going to do on the sidelines about not getting the ball in a victory, which we'll talk about that another day. But all the yelling and I'm open, it's first down, and I need first downs, I can get you first downs and touchdowns, all that junk he's talking on the sideline, he's going to have a chance against a very, very bad Eagles secondary. Their best corner is Kerry Williams, and we've had some familiarity with Kerry Williams from playing last year against Baltimore, and he made some plays, a couple plays on Dez, stopping Dez on that big third down, I believe it was, in the open field where it was 3rd and 1. We threw a screen to Dez, and this guy made a play, but Dez had burned him pretty much all game. So their best guy in their secondary is probably Kerry Williams, and that's not saying a lot. So we should be able to go out and impose our will offensively on the Eagles. The only drawback is they can probably feel the same way about our defense, but our defense is playing better. We didn't allow a rookie, a 4th-round draft pick rookie in Mike Glennon, to go out and throw the ball all over our secondary out there. We didn't allow that. The Eagles have to worry about that. They have to go out and look themselves and look at their tape and see, because this is a whole different animal that's coming onto their field. So I'm going to be excited just to see how we play, who plays first of all, but how we play against. I'm hoping it's Vic, because I worry more about Nick Foles, to be honest with you. Eagles fans, they're in love with Vic. I like what Nicky Foles is doing back there, especially if they can still get the running game going with Nick Foles back there, which all these fans are saying they can't run the ball with Nick Foles because the run game isn't the same. You know what? Be patient, because you will be able to run the football, because guys will start dropping guys in secondary. They'll start dropping their guys, and then you'll open it up for LaShawn McCoy. I want to see how we prepare for that Eagle team, because we will have to prepare for 2 quarterbacks. But right now, we're still sitting atop the NFC East. We're hoping this is where we make our move and start to separate ourselves even more from the rest of the pack. So 3-3, you just got done beating the division champs, who you couldn't stay on the field with last year at all. It's looking good. It's looking good. You got out of here with not too many bad injuries. And you know what? Maybe I think DeMarco Murray's injury, if they're talking about a sprained MCL, you're looking at 2 to 4 weeks. So, you're going to hear a lot of banter, a lot of talk. You're going to hear a lot about, should we sign Maurice Jones-Drew, trade for him, Miles Austin to Jacksonville, or a 4th round or a 3rd round pick, because Jacksonville did kind of put out there, from what I'm understanding, that he is expendable, and at the right price he can be had. So if that's the case, that's something that the Cowboys have to think about money-wise. I don't know if they have the money, and I don't know if they're entertaining that. You did draft a kid in Joseph Randle, who, by the way, I know he didn't make any huge plays in the game, but 2 things that I noticed that he did, because people are so scared about putting rookies in football games, especially 5th-round draft picks, but he pass protected well. He recognized the pass. He flowed the pass rush. He flowed with it and got to his guy. Also, he took some vicious shots in that game and held on to the football. That to me was good. That was big. That's what I wanted to see. How is this guy going to respond when he gets hit in the mouth? And he got hit in the mouth a few times, but he held on to the football. So we can sit back, listen to what else is going on in Cowboy land. We should all be thankful, all be happy. We came out with a dominating win. To me, it was dominating. Hopefully we can continue. We talk about momentum a lot on this show. We talk about carrying it over into the next week. That's one of the things the Cowboys have not been able to do in years and years and years. So hopefully we can carry this and bring this forward. It'll, propel us to, do big things, because I still think this is a team that can win a division. And if you get into the playoffs, you're not going to tell me that everybody's going to say Tony Romo sucks and, well, the Cowboys suck. If they get into the playoffs, you're going to hear coaches talk about how scary this team is, how dangerous this team is. So we'll look and see. And I think a lot of these guys have a lot to be. That defensive line that you saw out there, those guys aren't playing. They're not fat guys because they've gotten paid a lot of money. These are guys that were on the street. Some of them were working their 9-to-5 jobs and got a phone call and are playing for their football lives. It's different. You're not talking about a guy who got franchised like Anthony Spencer 2 years in a row, who walked out of there with close to $20 million and only played 1 year of football. You're not talking about a guy who you got to motivate now. How motivating are you going to be to come back out there and be the same player you were? You're not talking about Jay Ratliff, who's sitting on, maybe $20 million in his life that he's made. You're not talking about guys. You're talking about guys that are trying to get that paycheck. So take advantage of some of these guys, these George Selvies, these guys that played real well for you. I'm out of here, guys. I'm hopefully I can, and I know I didn't have a pregame show this week. Really crazy, hectic schedule. I want to try to get a segment with the enemy, so we'll try to get an Eagle segment in here with an Eagle a fan who's a real knowledgeable fan about his team, sideline chatter. Hopefully we can get that together up for you guys. I'm out of here. Don't forget to check out. Don't forget to hit like. Definitely subscribe to the page. Also check out yourdailycowboyfootballfix.com and the Silver and Blue Report. It's your boy Uncle Bootz. How about them Cowboys? I'm out of here.